Let's start where survival once meant stepping straight into ice. Cold exposure, the original power-up. Picture the scene, a small circle of ancestors at dawn, standing barefoot on frozen earth beside a rushing river. The water is black, the sky is pale, and stepping in means pain before relief. They do it anyway. Not for spectacle, not for a social media update, not because a coach prescribed it, because life demanded toughness. Children were raised in it, warriors tempered resolve in it, elders carried the practice until their bodies finally gave out. What looks to us like masochism was simply their training ground. Today, that same elemental ritual has been reframed as a wellness upgrade with a price tag. High-end gym cell memberships featuring precision-cooled tubs. Retreats advertise cryotherapy immersion at luxury resorts. Apps and influencers rebrand shivering as a guided personal cold journey. The difference is striking. What once cost only courage is now packaged with LED lighting and a playlist. An ancient survival habit has been turned into a product line. But underneath the gloss, researchers in 2025 continue to confirm the same core idea. Cold matters to human biology. Exposing the body to icy water leads to acute neurochemical changes that can boost alertness and stabilize mood far beyond the few minutes in the water itself. People often describe a deep, lingering lift afterward. Steadier energy, calmer focus, less emotional and unlike caffeine, which spikes and crashes, these responses appear to last for hours. It's not a placebo. It's how the nervous system copes with shock by reorganizing itself. And the story does not stop at mood. When the body hits cold water, it reacts with an inflammatory surge. Research shows markers like cytokines spike immediately and even up to an hour later. Then comes the twist. After about 12 hours, stress markers often drop below baseline, suggesting the body has begun recalibrating. Over weeks, this cycle may translate into tangible health gains. A widely cited pragmatic trial in the Netherlands, Bitch et al., 2016, even reported a 29% reduction in self-reported sickness absence among people who adopted daily 30 to 90-second cold showers for just 1 month. That's not anecdote. It's population-level evidence. Still, scientists emphasize that these effects emerge gradually, not instantly. The nervous system learns through repetition. The freezing gasp, the buckling breath, the instinct to retreat. Forced exposure retrains those reflexes. Over time, fight-or-flight circuits stop firing at minor irritations. That translates into less overreaction to daily stress. Essentially, cold becomes rehearsal for resilience. By practicing calm in the face of extremes, the body grows more composed under pressure. Even small annoyances, traffic, deadlines become easier to navigate after repeatedly surviving morning ice water. Cognitive benefits follow as well. Modern studies suggest that during immersion, blood flow is rapidly redistributed, sending oxygen toward the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain used for planning and decision-making. Trials now indicate that short exposures practiced 3 times a week sharpen performance on focus and problem-solving tasks. That clear, awake sensation afterward has measurable correlates. For ancient communities, clarity was survival. For us, it's research data confirming the brain thrives on contrast between calm and shock. Energy systems appear involved too. Scientists propose that cold encourages mitochondria, the cellular power sources, to operate more efficiently, possibly even multiply. While we can't quantify this yet, research suggests that routine immersion may help cells produce energy with greater stamina. Participants in various trials often report fresher mornings, greater endurance, and improved sleep afterward, a pattern researchers believe stems from shifts in hormone rhythms like melatonin. The mechanisms are complex and still under study, but the direction is consistent. Stress training seems to unlock long-term adaptability. Across cultures, these effects were understood in different vocabularies. Scandinavian parents often placed babies outside to nap in sub-zero air, wrapped safely in wool, believing it would foster resilience. Russian communal life embedded the sauna to snow shock as a rite of strength. Japanese ascetic monks carried out waterfall meditation under torrents of icy water, seeing it as a trial of spirit. Different names, different contexts. The principle remained: exposure to cold creates a body and mind that bend less easily. In the present day, that heritage has been restyled as performance. We broadcast ice baths on slow-motion reels, narrate breakthroughs and sell exotic retreats that recreate the simple cutting wind our ancestors woke to every morning. The irony is clear. A practice used for grit and necessity has become a brand strategy, yet the body doesn't distinguish. Whether it's a riverbank at dawn or a filtered spa tub, the outcome is still shaking muscles, followed by neural recalibration. Now to the numbers. The most striking evidence isn't about mystical immunity boosts, but about practical resilience. The Bridge trial showed fewer days lost to illness in thousands of participants after only a month of cold showers. Closer systematic review highlights the time-dependent paradox. Inflammatory markers rise strongly at first and only later settle down to lower levels. Stress tolerances increase over hours and weeks, not minutes. This lends credibility to what athletes and monks claim without charts, that discipline through cold pays dividends slowly but convincingly. That does not make cold universally harmless. Medical guidelines caution that sudden immersion is risky for those with cardiovascular problems, hypertension, or respiratory vulnerabilities. Cold shock can trigger arrhythmias or dangerous spikes in heart rate. Anyone considering it as a daily practice should consult a physician. Our ancestors didn't need disclaimers, they simply risked survival. We, with central heating and modern hospitals, can afford the precaution. All told, cold immersion teaches that discomfort can strengthen every human system. While mitochondria research remains ongoing, while immune findings remain nuanced, the combination of sharper focus, steadier mood, and fewer sick days creates a compelling case. What began as adaptation has become optional resilience training. The oldest natural stimulant was not brewed, smoked, or bottled. It was temperature. The lesson is easy to miss in a wellness market crowded with branding. You don't need a soundscape or a Bluetooth-enabled tub to participate in a lineage older than written language. Step into cold water and you step into the same cycle of stress and adaptation your ancestors endured countless winters ago. Our nerves, our brains, our blood vessels, they still recognize the shock as training. That's why this isn't just about bathing. It's about tuning the nervous system by pairing predictable discomfort with consistent recovery. The rhythm of stress and calm rewires how we face the day. Cold was the first natural reset button, pressed without ceremony, which leaves us with an open thread. If temperature could shift body chemistry so powerfully, what other forces did ancient people harness in plain everyday rituals? Forces we only later learned were therapeutic. Sound healing, the first human playlist. Across ancient cultures, sound wasn't treated as a background. It was survival strategy, ritual, and medicine. Imagine a circle of people chanting until the air seems heavy, or a drum beat carrying through the ground until your chest matches its rhythm. These weren't concerts. They were practical events designed to change how people felt, whether sharpening focus, calming nerves, or energizing the group. From Tibetan bowls to indigenous didgeridoos, vibrations weren't decoration. They were functioning tools. Voices layered in rhythm were humanity's first curated playlist, not built for markets but for tuning the nervous system. Western attitudes dismissed this for centuries. Singing at a certain pitch, knocking wood in rhythm. If it wasn't explained with formulas, it was written off as mysticism. Ritual chants, sonic ceremonies, even communal drumming were slid into the primitive category. Yet evidence sat in plain sight. Villages calming tension with song, healing rituals echoing through stone temples tuned for resonance. Entire communities regulated mood together through shared vibration. Ironically, the same approaches now return with luxury branding. Sound baths in glass-walled studios. Premium apps with subscriptions for binaural beats. Glossy marketing insists it's novel sound therapy. The truth, it's a repackaging of extremely old techniques, stripped of myth and recast as polished wellness. Modern science, slow but steady, has started lending detailed evidence. By 2025, researchers documented that low-frequency tones can reduce self-reported anxiety, shift brain activity from stress-associated beta waves to calmer alpha or theta ranges, and improve indicators like heart rate variability. Some controlled trials show reductions in cortisol and gains in vagal tone after structured sound sessions.
In other words, the body isn't
passively listening. It recalibrates its stress response to vibration in real time. The ancients weren't staging concerts, they were organizing collective stress management. We'll show you one concrete scientific result that explains why something like a drum circle actually changes your heart. Stay tuned for the takeaway. BeyondShortTerm.com, findings suggest deeper patterns. Some studies in the past 3 years report that rhythmic sound can synchronize brainwave activity, a process called entrainment. When repeated consistently, this entrainment may support neuroplastic processes, helping neurons strengthen their connections, but here evidence remains promising, not conclusive. Trials vary in design and quality. A 2022 systematic review on Himalayan singing bowls, for instance, reported multiple studies showing reduced stress and improved mood, but the authors flagged substantial heterogeneity in methods and a high risk of bias in many randomized trials. The safe conclusion is that these effects are real for some, inconsistent for others, and stronger clinical trials are needed. Still, changes in EEG rhythms, improved sleep in certain patient groups, and measurable reductions in stress hormones make clear that vibrations are more than symbolic. Physiology provides a clear picture of why this form of intervention works. Vibrations don't only reach ears, they move through bone, fluid, and muscle tissue. That's why a drumbeat makes the ribs hum or a deep chant seems to resonate through the chest. Sensory receptors register those oscillations, then relay them to the nervous system. The cascade can include shifts in endorphins and serotonin, as well as parasympathetic activation. What looks like communal ecstasy is often an orchestra of hormones adjusting to rhythmic mechanical input. Research even shows measurable increases in heart rate synchrony among groups chanting together, suggesting a physiological basis for the ancient feeling of unity after shared sound. Some of the most telling insights come from developmental studies. Fetuses in the third trimester recognize and respond to steady vibrations, their heart rates visibly calming under rhythmic tones. Babies, long before understanding speech, respond to singing with more predictable breathing patterns and camera states. Song as lullaby has been instinctive for millennia. Modern biology now validates why it works. Ancient midwives humming through labor and mothers rocking infants with repetitive melodies weren't indulging superstition. They were aligning young nervous systems with reliable sonic rhythm. Cut to the modern market. Firelit gatherings turned into curated sessions with quartz bowls, white mats, and headphones. Streaming beats tuned to frequencies like 432 Hz. Branding cycles between optimal resonance therapy or frequency healing protocols. And though polished, physiology doesn't discriminate. Heart rate variability improves either way. Cortisol reductions appear in both sacred circles and high-end studios. The marketing suggests invention, but the body runs on timeless response loops. Laboratory data brings an especially clear visual. Place volunteers under fMRI while exposing them to rhythmic low-frequency tones, and the amygdala, the brain's alarm system, quiets. Simultaneously, the prefrontal cortex, center of control and problem-solving, locks onto the beat, syncing its rhythm with the input. With no words, sound directly recalibrates circuits related to fear and attention. Reduce the jargon and the conclusion is simple. Music regulates stress at a structural level. Skeptics might argue about placebo, but group experiments counter that. Choir singers measured before and after rehearsals show elevated levels of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. They also synchronize breathing and even heart rate when singing in unison. That feeling of group connection after shared song isn't metaphor. It's actual physiological alignment. This helps explain why traditional cultures preserve music as communal medicine. The heartbeat wasn't just metaphorical, it was literally shared through rhythm. Even recreational sound shows these effects. The chest rattling bass at a concert creates real tissue-level vibrations, activating the vagus nerve. That nerve ties directly to calm states, digestion, and homeostasis. Enormous gongs, horns, and resonant halls used in monasteries all exploit this connection. Though practitioners didn't speak in neurophysiological terms, they were reliably activating the same pathways modern clinics now target for stress and trauma therapies. Hospitals have taken notice. By 2025, targeted sound sessions are being trialed for surgical recovery and chronic pain management. Some centers use harmonic frequencies to stabilize patient mood post-surgery, while trauma programs apply guided sound interventions to ease hyperarousal. In both contexts, the goal is to regulate physiology without pharmaceuticals.
Evidence shows reductions in
Self-reported stress and in some studies improved sleep quality. Still, reviewers emphasize methodological gaps. Sample sizes are small, outcomes vary, and bias risks remain. What's certain is not that sound is a miracle, but that it is a measurable tool in the body's stress management kit. That brings us back to perspective. For ancient groups, sound wasn't a luxury. It was normal infrastructure for emotional regulation. Gatherings around chants or instruments didn't cost subscriptions. Yet their after effects in calmer breathing and synchronized hearts mirror the outcomes noted in today's clinical trials. Centuries later, wellness culture charges $80 for a single sound bath, while early villagers had the same nervous system tune-up free by chanting around fire. The science may be newer, but the biology is not. Which, in a way, makes the most logical bridge to our next theme. If voices, bowls, and vibrations were engineering shifts in stress chemistry long before Eads confirmed it, it raises a bigger question. What else did our ancestors grind, brew, or burn that modern researchers would later validate with metrics and charts? Herbal medicine potions with lab results. Picture: a village healer crouched over a stone slab, grinding a handful of roots into powder. The forest was their pharmacy. Leaves, bark, fungi, and flowers placed into teas or paste with no packaging, warning labels, or shelf life. Patients trusted the strange bitterness because for them bitter often meant relief. Far from being sorcery, those remedies carried active molecules now recognizable in modern pharmacology. The language of biochemistry didn't exist, but the affect living through another harsh season spoke for itself. For centuries, that knowledge was easy to ridicule. Early modern physicians dismissed root teas and mushroom brews as superstition or ritual without evidence. Yet with the rise of chemical analysis, things shifted. Botanicals once filed under folk medicine began showing measurable effects. Willow bark tea contained salicin, later refined into aspirin. Cinchona bark, steeped to fight fevers, yielded quinine, still the backbone drug against malaria. Academic journals today, like the Journal of Herbal Medicine, regularly publish randomized controlled trials, RCTs, and systematic reviews that evaluate those very plants. What used to be called potions now sits squarely inside evidence-based discussions about stress, cognition, and immunity. By 2025, the evidence for adaptogens, plant study for their stress buffering effects, was stronger than ever. Some RCTs have shown that ashwagandha supplementation can reduce cortisol levels and improve measures of sleep quality, perceived stress, and resilience. Not every trial reaches the same conclusion, but the weight of data suggests it works for at least some populations. That reality reframes how generations of families used this root in India, not as ritual fantasy, but as a stress support tool long before neurotransmitters were named. Lion's mane mushroom, once a quiet folk ingredient in East Asia, is another example. Its reputation as brain food has cultural roots, but recent laboratory research found extracts can increase levels of nerve growth factor, a protein critical for neuron maintenance and repair. That doesn't mean eating a bowl of soup grants instant neurological rewiring, but controlled studies do suggest measurable biological activity. For monks historically brewing this fungus into broth, cognitive clarity may have been more than subjective. It likely aligned with subtle changes now detectable in the lab. Ginseng's reputation has been global for centuries, and trials continue to back some of its claims. Modern RCTs suggest benefits for cognition, working memory, and endurance, though effects vary by species, dosage, and preparation. Volunteers in certain studies demonstrated faster reaction times and improved recall under ginseng compared to placebo. Again, the variability is large, but that doesn't erase the point. Something in the root traded along ancient silk roads actively tunes attention and energy. These examples illustrate a broader reality. Many drugs familiar today descend directly from plants that traditional healers tested first. Beyond aspirin and quinine, whole classes of pharmaceuticals trace back to natural compounds, digoxin for heart conditions, vincristine for leukemia. Each was once embedded in a ritual or recipe, dismissed as crude or anecdotal until extracted, standardized, and renamed. The striking pattern is not that tradition was wrong, but that it was early. Importantly, modern science adds rigor ancient cultures could not. Randomized trials include controls, blinding, biomarkers, and standard dosing. Peer-reviewed journals catalog which effects hold up under scrutiny and which were exaggeration. But even as evidence mounts, researchers warn about limitations. Trials are often small, methodologies differ, and plant extracts vary, depending on growing conditions and preparation. Regulatory oversight is uneven across countries, and many so-called herbal products on the market have inconsistent potency, adulteration issues, or misleading labeling. Unlike pharmaceuticals, there is no universal standardization. That means consumers must approach herbal supplements carefully, ideally in consultation with clinicians rather than self-prescribing based on advertising. The irony is plain in marketplaces. Ashwagandha appears wrapped in sachets branded as Calm Reset. Lion's mane comes dried and powdered into capsules labeled neurofuel. Ginseng is blended into energy shots for students. The marketing leans into futurism, but the plants themselves are the same species that monks, healers, and families consumed centuries ago. The innovations are packaging, extracts, and hashtags, not the plants. Meanwhile, evidence continues to filter through laboratory pipelines. Cortisol reductions in ashwagandha trials. Neurotrophic responses triggered by lion's mane. Cognitive shifts registered in ginseng studies. These aren't universal solutions, they're measurable responses in some settings, and it matters. Evidence makes clear that parts of traditional herbal practice contain genuine pharmacology. Not magic and not guarantees, but real chemical interactions inside the body. At the same time, the global market has built an industry on this rediscovery. Analysts value the worldwide herbal supplement market in the tens of billions of US dollars by the mid-2020s, with steady growth projected. That figure is economic, not medical proof, but it signals how deeply herbal remedies now sit inside the wellness economy. Market interest grows fastest where clinical evidence supports safety and efficacy, another reminder that culture follows the data. Yet beneath both hype and dismissal, it's useful to remember how knowledge was built. Ancient herbalists didn't run double-blind trials, but they did track outcomes across generations. They noted which teas lessened fevers or eased minds, passed down those observations, discarded failures, and retained what worked often enough to matter. That process, slow but pragmatic, mirrors science more closely than stereotypes suggest. When modern pharmacognosy departments extract molecules for lab testing, they often start from exactly those long-lived observations. So yes, it's fair to imagine the village healer grinding roots on stone as an amateur biochemist. Their pantry was soil and weather, not shelves. Their test subjects were family and neighbors, not lab rats. What we call herbal pharmacology was once intergenerational memory. Clinical trials now translate that inheritance into numbers and p-values, but the wisdom didn't arrive overnight. It started in places without microscopes. The broader lesson is caution balanced by recognition. Some herbs show measurable effects in controlled trials. Others show promise but inconsistent results. Standardization remains uneven, and supplementation is not risk-free. Herbal medicine is neither miracle nor myth. It is a set of tools partly validated by science, shaped by context, and always subject to safe practice. If you're curious about herbs for stress or focus, consult reliable sources and licensed clinicians before following influencer advice. That's as vital a step as any dose itself. Seeing the arc from superstition to clinical evidence is fascinating, but it should not lead to overconfidence. Ashwagandha, lion's mane, and ginseng each highlight stories where the myth was partly true, but also where mechanisms and dosing matter. Without clinical guidance, the space between helpful and harmful can blur. The wise approach is not dismissal, and not blind acceptance, but informed respect. And this respect sets up an interesting question. If plants once dismissed as useless turned out to influence human chemistry, what about practices that required no grinding or boiling at all? What if simply rearranging the timing of when we ate transformed health every bit as much as what we ate? Intermittent fasting, not just a missed breakfast. Long before internet debates turned breakfast into a health battleground, fasting was already a central human practice. It appeared across religions and cultures, but not because anyone was quantifying calories. Early Christians, Buddhists, Muslims, Hindus, and countless others saw food abstinence as a path to mental clarity, discipline, and separation from distractions. Ramadan, Lent, Yom Kippur, meditation retreats all approached it as purification rather than body image management. Monks spending days without food weren't tracking macros. They were trying to sharpen perception and connect with something beyond appetite. In contrast, modern eating advice for much of the 20th century framed 3 meals plus snacks as healthy routine. Skipping food was portrayed as careless, even dangerous. When the pendulum swung back, fasting resurfaced with new branding. Time-feeding patterns like 16:8 or 5:2 became headline trends under the label of intermittent fasting. Influencers posted countdown timers as proof of effort. Where ascetics once described cleansing the spirit, lifestyle gurus promoted fasting as a hack for leaning down. The action didn't change, but the framing shifted. What remains overlooked in diet discourse is what actually happens inside the body during extended breaks from food. Research by 2025 has clarified several mechanisms. A core effect is improved insulin sensitivity. When the body rests between intakes, muscles and liver respond more efficiently to signals that move glucose out of the blood. This matters because impaired insulin sensitivity is a key risk marker for type 2 diabetes. In lab data, fasting periods often produce smoother blood sugar profiles and stronger hormone signaling. Tradition spoke of cleansing, biologists now observe metabolic regulation. Another pathway activated by food restriction is autophagy, the intracellular process that recycles damaged proteins and organelles. Rather than an automatic magic switch, autophagy is a stress response mechanism that appears to increase when energy intake pauses. Think of it like night shift maintenance crews working while daily operations stop. Religious writings once spoke of inner fires consuming impurities. Molecular studies show that after about 16 to 20 hours of fasting, genes related to autophagy pathways are more active. It's not a guaranteed fountain of youth, but evidence suggests fasting periods promote cellular housekeeping that contributes to resilience. Cognitive outcomes have been a particular focus. Multiple studies suggest short fasting windows can boost working memory, spatial tasks, and learning speed. One proposed mechanism is the production of ketone bodies, which provide a stable, efficient energy source for neurons during fasting. Participants often describe clearer thought, lower brain fog, and more consistent focus during fasts. What mystics associate with sharpened spirit looks, in modern data, like neuroenergetic stability supported by ketone metabolism. Some studies also show transient increases in brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein tied to neuron growth and adaptability. Historically, fasting aligned with lunar cycles, daylight hours, or spiritual occasions. Patterns like sun-up to sundown abstinence resemble what nutritionists now call time-restricted eating. Current circadian biology research emphasizes that when we eat can matter as much as how much we eat. Food intake synchronized to daylight supports hormone balance, while irregular or late-night feeding can strain circadian alignment. Ancient rituals followed cosmic rhythms. Scientists now map those rhythms onto metabolic processes. Medium-term outcomes highlighted in recent clinical studies include reduced inflammatory markers, improved lipid profiles, and in some cases, enhanced immune responses. However, results vary depending on body composition, sex, and baseline health. A 2020 network meta-analysis in the BMJ, reviewing randomized trials, found intermittent fasting generally led to weight loss and cardiometabolic improvements, but outcomes were not superior to continuous calorie restriction. The main takeaway, intermittent fasting can be effective, but its results often mirror those of steady calorie reduction. It's a practical framework, not a magic cure. Nuance matters here. A study from the University of British Columbia Okanagan, UBCO, noted that fasting effects differ by body type. In people with obesity, metabolic and immune responses diverge from those in lean participants. This means fasting isn't a universal tool. Protocols that benefit one group may not translate directly to others. Such caveats reinforce why intermittent fasting should be treated as an option within broader lifestyle interventions, not as a standalone solution for everyone. Safety considerations matter as well. Intermittent fasting is not suitable for everyone, particularly people who are pregnant, breastfeeding, managing diabetes with medication, or living with certain health conditions. Clinical guidance is crucial before beginning any extended fasting protocol. While evolutionary history embedded fasting into human adaptation, intentional modern practice requires context-specific safety checks. Cultural parallels underline how old ideas find new labels. Japanese monastics fasted as purification. Greek philosophers valued abstinence for sharpening the intellect. Indigenous groups framed hunger as doorway to altered perspective. Scientific explanation today ties those perceptions to hormone shifts and heightened alertness triggered by scarcity signals. The language changed, but the effects noted across centuries remain compatible with documented physiology. The modern market, however, compresses fasting into tools for body composition. Publishers and influencers create charts, diet names, and quick formulas. Marketing often sells protocols as breakthroughs, when the reality is far older and simpler. Abstaining from food for structured intervals. The packaging suggests invention, but humans have repeated this cycle for millennia. Scientists continue to note that animal studies show lifespan extension from fasting regimens, but human data remains limited and mixed. While fasting appears to improve multiple markers of health, long-term mortality benefits in humans are not yet firmly established. It is best described as promising, not proven. This honesty protects credibility and keeps the conversation grounded. What makes fasting striking is its simplicity. No powders, no supplements, just time, pauses, and intake. The body's baseline systems respond by stabilizing sugar regulation, recycling cells, and in many trials, reducing disease risk factors. Ancient populations may have attached spiritual meaning. Modern labs provide biomarkers. At the ground level, it is still the same pattern of temporary abstinence followed by restoration. Framing fasting as either superstition or cutting-edge invention both miss the overlap. It is one continuous thread recognized through different vocabularies, from monks and philosophers to dietitians and clinicians. The terminology varies, but the physiological process is the same: break intake, reset mechanisms. That reset is practical, widely practiced across time, and not limited to religious or fitness motives.